Right now, you can walk into almost any hospital on Earth and not worry about catching a disease that used to kill nearly 1 in 3 people who caught it. That disease is smallpox. For most of human history, it was one of the deadliest forces on the planet. Today, it doesn't exist in nature anywhere. Not one case, not one outbreak, nowhere on Earth. Humans didn't just treat this disease, we erased it completely. In the story of how we did it involves milkmaids, a doctor willing to experiment on a child, in one of the largest coordinated efforts in human history. Smallpox is ancient. Evidence of it has been found on Egyptian mummies dating back over 3,000 years, including the mummy of Pharaoh Ramses V, whose skin still shows the telltale pustules. For centuries, smallpox swept through populations in unpredictable waves, killing roughly 30% of everyone it infected and leaving many survivors permanently scarred or blind. It didn't discriminate by class. Kings, peasants, and everyone in between were vulnerable. But there was one strange pattern people noticed for centuries. Milkmaids, the women who worked closely with dairy cattle, almost never caught smallpox. Their skin stayed clear while everyone around them fell ill. The reason, though nobody understood it yet, was cowpox, a much milder disease that cattle carried and that occasionally spread to the humans who handled them. Something about surviving cowpox seemed to protect people from smallpox entirely. In 1796, an English doctor named Edward Jenner decided to actually test this folk observation scientifically. He took pus from a cowpox sore on the hand of a milkmaid named Sarah Nelms and deliberately scratched it into the arm of an 8-year-old boy named James Phipps. The boy developed a mild fever and a small sore, then recovered within days. Weeks later, Jenner exposed the boy directly to smallpox material itself, a genuinely dangerous experiment by any modern ethical standard. James never developed the disease. His body was already protected. Jenner called this technique vaccination, from the Latin word for cow, vacca, and the method spread across Europe within just a few years. For nearly 2 centuries after Jenner's discovery, vaccination slowly reduced smallpox cases across wealthier nations, but the disease remained devastatingly common elsewhere. As recently as 1967, smallpox was still killing an estimated 2 million people every single year, concentrated heavily in parts of Africa, Asia, and South America, where vaccine access simply hadn't reached. That same year, the World Health Organization launched something unprecedented, a coordinated global campaign to eradicate smallpox entirely, not just control it. This wasn't a single country's effort. It required cooperation between nations that were often locked in Cold War tension, all working toward one shared medical goal. Teams of health workers traveled into remote villages carrying vaccines, syringes, and detailed maps tracking every single outbreak they could find. The strategy that made eradication actually achievable was something called ring vaccination. Instead of trying to vaccinate every single person on Earth, which was logistically impossible, health workers identified anyone infected, then vaccinated everyone that person had been in contact with, creating a protective ring around each outbreak that stopped the virus from spreading any further. It was targeted, efficient, and it worked far faster than blanket vaccination campaigns ever could have. Case by case, country by country, the ring closed tighter around the virus. Somalia recorded the world's last known naturally occurring case in 1977, a hospital cook named Ali Mal Malin, who survived the infection. For the first time in recorded history, a disease that had killed an estimated 300 million people in the 20th century alone had nowhere left to hide. In 1980, the World Health Organization made the announcement formally. Smallpox was declared eradicated, the first and still the only human disease ever wiped off the face of the earth by deliberate human effort. Today, the virus exists in exactly 2 high-security laboratory freezers, one in the United States and one in Russia, kept only for limited scientific research under intense international oversight. So here's the full arc. A disease that shaped human history for thousands of years, scarring emperors and commoners alike, was ultimately defeated not by luck, but by curiosity about milkmaids, one doctor's willingness to test a theory directly, and a global cooperative effort that treated a single virus as a shared enemy of the entire species. Smallpox once seemed permanent, an unavoidable part of being human. It isn't anymore. And that single fact remains one of the greatest proofs that coordinated human effort can end something that once felt unbeatable.